Greetings. This is General CJG here, coming to you with the continuation of our Tales of the Jedi podcast series. So, with me here, I got.
Greetings, mortals. It's the Shadow King, King Nazru. You have been blessed with my presence, and I shall tell you more of the tales of the Jedi. Be grateful.
Yep. Then we got.
This is the Sparta Fan Maniac. I'm back.
And of course, we cannot do Tales of the Jedi without mentioning, of course, the Macho Mandalorian himself.
Yep. Hey guys, Django Fett here, and back to discuss some more Tales of the Jedi.
So, with that out of the way, we're discussing here the Freedon Nadd Uprising, starting with the first issue. So, shall you do the honors to Django on the summary on this one?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, this one is on the Freedon Nadd Uprising, and we are on Onderon, on the walled city, and this is after the events of the Knights of the Republic volume, where there was this huge battle, Beast Wars, and, of course, Nomi Sunrider's story as well. And it is the aftermath of the battle. It just looks like there was pure chaos in that aftermath. But we have a ship arriving with Master Arca of Arcania and his apprentices already being on the planet. And on the ship, we have Os William. He was Master Thawne's apprentice who was in Nomi Sunrider's story. So he arrives and he wants to provide aid to the other Jedi there. So the people of Onderon decide to get the remains of Freedon Nadd, and they want to transport it to another area because the dark side is imbued in Freedon Nadd's tomb, and it's causing a lot of havoc across the planet, or across the city, I should say. So they're trying to transport it to another moon of the planet itself. So Os William comes and he just tells them that, hey, I'm here to help. And they're almost ready to go to the Duxan moon. But they get swarmed and ambushed by the armed forces of, they're called the Naddis. But they are loyal to Freedon Nadd. And they come out from the ground in this underground device. And they start to attack. And they are led by a dark side warrior named Warb Null. So they ambush them and take the remains of the Queen as well as the remains of Freedon Nadd, as they're set to hold power in themselves. So they attack the Jedi. The Jedi do a pretty good job in holding them back for the most part, but they actually get the tomb from them, and they escape. And Arca Jeth was actually, he was incapacitated for most of the fight, and he couldn't do anything because of the dark side. So he was pretty much incapacitated and pretty much out of it. Then we actually have Arca saying that he wants to see the father of Galia. The queen passed away, but the father still lived. So the King Omen is on this life support device, and Arca wants to speak to him. So he decides to talk to him, and he tells him about the dark side and Freedon Nadd. But all of a sudden, Freedon Nadd's spirit emerges and spooks everyone. Because he was been dead for 400 years, and all of a sudden his force spirit comes, and he tells them that they're doomed, and he's actually been teaching them, and he's actually been teaching King Omen, and King Omen actually emerges and pretty much just throws Arca Jeth with the dark side, and his warriors emerge with Warb Null. So they start to attack the Jedi, and Ulic tries to do it pretty much by himself. But Freedon Nadd does say that something to Ulic that is very subtle, and he says, "Fight well, young Jedi. A great destiny awaits you." So I'll say nothing more on that. But he does defeat Warb Null in the fight, cuts off his head pretty much, and Arca Jeth actually gets taken away by the Dark Side warriors, the Naddis, and they actually escape from there. They actually just flee from that place because, it's been taken over by King Omen and his warriors, and them and the Beast Riders and the rest of the Jedi just have to actually end up fleeing. Then we go to Ossus, and Nomi Sunrider is there with Thawne, and with Nomi and Thawne, they meet up with Master Vodo, and Vodo talks to them, and he's just a Jedi that will appear a little bit later too, and he tries to tell them to craft a lightsaber of their own, and Nomi actually has a bunch of crystals with her. Usually, I think it's like maybe one or two crystals that they use for, or several crystals, I should say, for a lightsaber, but she has quite a few of these Pontite crystals from the previous story that her husband had. And she uses that to craft her own lightsaber. And then after we have her crafting her lightsaber, we have the Jedi assembling, and they said that a team of Jedi Knights is needed to help rescue the forces in Onderon. So they choose only 5 Jedi. You would think they would bring in more, but 5 are chosen, including Nomi Sunrider, to fight the Naddis there. And yeah, so they come up with this plan, and the Republic is actually involved in this too. So they want to bring their forces involved as well. And
Well, actually, the Republic, some of them want to actually get involved in the situation, but others don't. They're dealing with, once again, political squabbles, like always.
yeah, yeah.
It's a wonder how this thing government stands do for 25,000 years.
Yep.
Yeah, and so then we go on to 2 different characters on, I think it was Coruscant, and they just call it the Republic City.
It is Coruscant.
Okay, so that's good to clarify that. Yeah, absolutely. So this is Coruscant, by the way. So the 2 new characters are Seto Keto and his cousin Alima. So they're actually visiting to see Sith artifacts because they're interested with the dark side, mostly in the dark side artifacts. So then they hear of the Sith forces there, the Naddis, in Onderon, taking over that city, the walled city. So they have this book. So they actually end up wanting to go to Onderon to find out the secrets of this book. So they actually end up wanting to go to this planet right away and just go immediately from that point on. And that's the end of that story.
Mm-hmm.
Or first issue, I have to say.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you guys think of this one?
So, first off, right off the bat, you can notice the artwork is done by actually 2 different artists, Tony Akins and Dennis Rodier. And it's very much old school. I think it's more old school than the previous stories we've read. And I would say it's more akin to a very 80s style, and the colors are very bold. Like you could see the red is just very vivid, and just the way the characters are drawn, it's more 80s than 90s style. Even though it came out in the 90s, it's more akin to the 80s, I would say.
And let's see, what I observed is, and if you actually see the Galactic Senate in this issue, and to be honest, I'm disappointed because it is literally a desk with bunch of chairs. Now, I saw the prequels before I read these comics, and the prequels, they have those spinning floating things, right?
Yeah.
And now we're seeing a bunch of dudes sitting on a chair with a table, and I could say this is very underwhelming to see.
Well, to be fair, this is what, 3,998 BY compared to the prequels where they were 32 BY, so almost 4,000 year difference. So
Yeah.
And the Tales of the Jedi seems to have this weird aesthetic where they try to combine futuristic technology with ancient architecture. Something like, if you guys watch the movie Black Panther, you might understand what I'm trying to talk about, where they try to maintain their traditional African style houses while making it look futuristic, which is really jarring to look at.
where it is more jarring is when we see Coruscant, if you ask me. We do see a lot of buildings, but clearly those buildings do not look nearly as advanced as, when we see other sources depicting Coruscant. So, Hell, even the KOTOR games, if I'm not mistaken, depicted Coruscant a bit more advanced, assuming Coruscant was even featured in those games.
I mean, it's really weird because not really long after this, it's the Knights of the Old Republic game, like 40 to 30 something years, and the buildings and everything do not look like this at all. Makes me wonder how they changed that much between those years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where I think your criticism applies more to one is definitely when we see Coruscant. I think that's the biggest outlier with this. Because I can easily excuse it with something like ISIS or Anosis. I can excuse it in there with the art style, but with Coruscant, yeah, that is very jarring.
Wait. What year did this comic came out?
This comic, first issue came out in August 2, 1994.
Oh, then they would kind of an excuse because the special edition for the Return of the Jedi haven't come out yet.
Yeah. And so far, the only other depictions of Coruscant we see is the Thrawn trilogy, which is just books. Not even the comic versions have come out yet, if I'm not mistaken.
So whatever the hell this city is, somehow turns like the Coruscant we see in the prequel trilogy, which is a little hard to believe, but the Force works in mysterious ways or something, I guess.
More like the Star Wars universe works in mysterious ways. You could say that. So yeah, what do you guys think of the story of this issue compared to the two previous ones?
I think these two issues kind of really raised the stakes because it shows just really showed how dangerous the dark side of the Force is with its forces with Wart Nog and Freedon Nadd and King Omen, especially with King Omen where you seen that he's this weak, feeble man, can't be much threat, but despite that, he was really powerful enough to handle the likes of Ula Kildroma and the rest of the judges except for like Master Arca.
Actually, he managed to choke Arca and paralyze him with dark side energy.
Yeah, but Master Arca had like the best chance to defeat him.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, another art thing I've been seeing is like Freedon Nadd Spirit looks like a orange yellow hologram, which I find it really weird because they didn't use the blue colors. There's something weird going on in this comic with beginning from the aesthetics to everything.
Well, hasn't Exar Kun's spirit look green in some depictions?
I don't remember green. I know he was dark. At least that's how he was described in the Jedi Academy trilogy. But I don't know about it being green.
Yeah, but I've seen artworks of him and of his spirit, and he kind of looks kind of green.
And for some weird reason, everybody's holding a green lightsaber. I mean, come on, guys. This is not the early Marvel Comics days. Not everyone uses the same lightsaber colors. Like, why did you do that?
Especially for dark side users. I mean, you would think they would have red lightsabers, but they had the green lightsaber too.
At this point, we haven't, if I'm not mistaken, in this time of the age, we don't see red lightsabers used by Darksiders. Only until Knights of the Old Republic we do see them. Because not even Exar Kun changed his lightsaber from blue to red. When we
if you see the cover art, people are holding different lightsaber colors. But if you look at the comic, everyone's holding a green. Like,
you're talking about issue 2. Oh, okay. With issue 2,
Oh.
yeah, we'll get into that.
And CJ, about your point too with the Sith as well. There was in Knights of the Republic in the Nomi Sunrider story when the one Jedi Master was talking about in the holocron was talking about the Sith. There was one Dark Jedi. I think he was wielding a red lightsaber. Maybe you can just show an image or something. But I'm pretty sure that was a red lightsaber.
Oh, and guess what? You were right, Django and Doan. They did have a red lightsaber in the Saga of Nomi Sunriders flashback.
Called it.
So, in that case, and yeah, I can definitely see what you mean, Doan, that at least the Darksiders should have used a red lightsaber. I guess we'll have to excuse it in which they didn't have time to change the crystal. I don't know.
were they running out of colors? Were they so... I mean, was Dark Horse so... Did Dark Horse had so little finance that they had to use less colors?
I mean, I doubt that because Ulick Kaldroma's outfit is red, so they could have used red for one of the lightsabers. So I don't know. It's weird, but uh, oh well. So Django, what do you think of the story on this one?
It was pretty good. I think it was really interesting to see that no matter what, you mean you always see with stories that once the good guys come in and defeat the force and then everything is good. But no, that's not the case because it just shows that even if you defeat that major force, there are still going to be insurgents and people who are going to resist you no matter what. And especially since the dark side is involved, there you have like this major underground force that is going to oppose you at every single way. So, I mean, I'm glad that they showed like this emerging force, and it's only going to get better from here.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
title is also kind of misleading because it says Freedon Nadd Rising, but the dude's been dead for 400 years, so it's not really much to be rising. You get the point what I'm trying to say?
I think it's more in a
Loyalists.
or meta sense in which, in reality, what's surprising is his forces, not Freedon Nadd himself. But then again, we haven't seen him in spirit form, not even the previous story arcs. So I guess he kind of did uprise. So there's that. Anything else to say on this issue, guys? Okay, well now we go to issue 2. So Django, you go.
All right. So we kick it off with a bang, and right away, the Republic forces with the Jedi invade Onderon and the walled city, and Satel and Alima show up at the worst time, you would think, right into a battle scene. And yeah, they're just in this chaotic mess with the Republic coming in. They have these what is it? The rocket jumpers, Republic rocket jumpers, pretty much jetpack troopers.
Yep, Jet Troopers.
They fly
And-
now?
Yeah.
Well, I guess they do. Anyway, continue, Django.
Yeah, I guess they were forced to. I guess they kind of seeded it because, like, on the walled city, there's like these crazy defenses, so they have to just like we have to get out as soon as possible. This is kind of like the parachuters, like World War II or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Parachute.
But there's more control with these.
Mm.
So a lot of chaos is happening in this battle. A lot of ships are getting destroyed, and they do manage to land Satel and Alima. But before that point, we actually have the Naddis are just constantly firing, and we have the Jedi coming out and going on the battlefield and attacking the Naddis. And we have Nomi Sunrider just being a badass, and right away she's just taking out these troopers like nothing. And it seemed like the Jedi had the upper hand, but there's a couple of them that do die at this point. And then we have the other Jedi, Ulick and the rest, appearing with a bunch of other troopers, the Beast Riders and the other opposed to the natives emerging, and they start to attack as well. And Nomi, then we go on to Nomi, and she's trying to find Ulick and the others, but the dark side is pretty much clouding her senses, and she gets knocked unconscious. So Sato and Lima land, and they meet up with the natives there right away. I guess they had no problem with them, and so they want to show the book, this ancient Sith book, so they can unlock the secrets. So they show this book to King Omen, and he says, I can give you this knowledge, and I'll give you this artifact to concentrate the power of the dark side and to help you translate these findings. So they do that, and Lord Omen wants to make a copy of this book as well. And then he wants to show a naked Arca, I should say, to them, just so he can say that, oh, this is my prized naked possession right here.
TMI, Django Fed TMI.
I can't help it. It's just so out there. So Arca does say that, listen, do you hear it? My Jedi Knights are with us. And this throws King Omen off as the Jedi appear, crashing the party. And we continue this meme once again. This is number 2, second time this happens. that Kay gets his arm chopped off. And this is a robotic arm. This is not his other arm,
Thank
I must
God.
say. So it is safe in that regard. So he can always repair it. But this is number 2, the second time this happens. And guys, this is not the last time this will happen.
Oh,
Just gonna leave it off at that.
man,
We could,
Kay.
we could put like a counter or something of how many times he gets his arm
Well,
chopped off.
we got 2 now.
We got 2 though. But Kay eventually just kills the guy right then and there. And in a fashion that I didn't expect, because you do see some blood when he cuts this guy. And I don't think at this point, or maybe there is a couple of times in this book that you do see blood from people attacking one
You do
another
see
and
it.
stuff.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, I think specifically in this issue, I don't see in the previous issue.
It is in
But you
this
do
one.
see blood, so this is kind of a surprise.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even Star Wars comics from like Star Wars Republic did show blood, except that the thing is, this one for some odd reason has lightsaber wounds bleed, which is odd because lightsaber wounds don't do that. They just like pass quickly through plasma. But we'll get more into detail later on.
Right. Okay. So the Jedi are pretty much decimating the natives there, and they do encounter King Omen, and they want to get Master Arca back. So Omen attacks Nomi, and she gets unconscious, and then Ulik just comes charging in as he's just furious, and he says, "It's time to put an end to you," and attacks the supports of King Omen as it helps to support his limbs. And once that's destroyed, they say that without his metal exoskeleton, King Omen collapses like an Arcanian jellyfish. So his body is just flimsy and is just like he can't do anything at this point. But he says that gone to the dark side, gone to the dark side from Arca. But that's not really true. So at this point, we also have Sadal and Alima just watching this, but then they encounter the ghost of Freedon Nadd, and he tells them that get the book and the talisman, and also take these swords of the Sith. King Omen will no longer need them. And he says that you are the future of my work. Now leave. This passage will bring you to the surface. And then we have Freedon Nadd also appearing again, and King Omen is just begging for Freedon Nadd to save him. And then he just says, "I'm sorry, Omen. They don't belong to the dark side, but you do." And he reaches out his hand and just pretty much kind of consumes King Omen right then and there, or just destroys him right there. And he does speak to Arca Jeth, who is saved at this point. And he says, "Greetings, Arca. Has King Omen's death freed you?" And when Freedon Nadd destroys King Omen, his Arca Jeth is freed. And Arca does he tries to talk to him and he says like, "Hey, we won, we beat you." But Freedon Nadd does say that, "Hey, the Jedi have not won today. You will pay. The Jedi have lost." Also foreshadowing, other things. And we also have Alima and Sadal actually leaving, and they actually have their prizes and they have what they wanted and just leave for their homeworld and the Empress Teta system, which we will get to a lot later. Now they do at this point bring the tombs of Freedon Nadd and the Queen to Moon of Duxon and just bury him and try to forget about him from this point on. And Arca does say something that is really important, that the Dark Lords will come again. I heard similar stories from the Jedi Holocron, and they chill my blood. The prophecies chill my blood. There may be something to them, but the future depends on us. We Jedi must cling to the light. The light is our strength and our ally. With the light of the Force, the Jedi will stand forever. Remember, Ulik, where there is light, there can be no darkness. And the story ends there.
Okay, so what do you guys think of this one?
Old man naked. Yeah, they shouldn't have done that. No.
Uh,
What I thought was really interesting was that King Omen was willing to share his knowledge of the dark side and artifacts of Freedon Nadd with Alina and Sadal. Yeah, I'm surprised they did that because normally dark side users don't share anything. They pretty much covet those items, and if anyone was seeking them, they would most likely kill the person as they feel they might become a rival.
That is something, though. Maybe because Freedon Nadd wanted more supporters to make his return. That's probably why someone like King Omen or even him would allow Saito and Lima to pretty much just, yeah, you can have this.
And for the first time, Ulik meets Nomi. Yeah, that's something.
Yeah, indeed. There's that. Can I mention that the action here definitely is on the more brutal side compared to the previous story arcs?
Oh yeah.
Which I think definitely is a positive.
Yeah, and like the Django said, like, dude, keep your arms. Stop moving them constantly. Like, what is wrong with you?
Uh,
At this point, he has a fetish on that.
possibly. There is that. Oh, man. Yep, indeed.
Arca tries to destroy the spirit of Freedon Nadd, but doesn't. Or does it just end? Like,
I think he just maybe he just made the spirit disappear because, well, bit of spoiler, we do know the spirit still lives in the later story arcs, but yeah. So
and we gotta see the tomb of Freedon Nadd in Dutton, which is kind of interesting because you could actually visit there. Not visit, more like forced to stay there for a while in KOTOR 2.
that is something. So yeah, but this tomb will play definitely a bigger part in the next story arc. So there is that. Anything else you guys want to mention on this issue?
Yeah, it's kind of being annoying that we don't actually get a Sith Lord that is alive. We only see Freedon Nadd for like 2 arcs, and we never see a single Sith Lord that is alive.
Or a Dark Jedi?
Yeah, I don't think we'll get any of them alive until XR Ku appears.
Yeah, we get Dark Jedi later on, but if you want an in-universe reason, we gotta talk about Knights of the Old Republic and for the real reason why that's not the case.
I mean, hyperspace war, and then the Sith flee to somewhere else, blah 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 blah. I know, but
By now, the real Sith are on Drummond Koss.
wait, isn't Freedon Nadd also the real Sith?
He is safe, yeah.
No. I'm saying a Sith species member, or at least part of the Sith Empire. I mean, the true Sith Empire.
I believe he is of the Sith Empire because Freedon Nadd is human, if I'm not mistaken. But he pretty much, he made his way to the heart of the old Sith Empire and gained an enormous wealth of dark side knowledge. Yeah, pretty much was safe. That much is confirmed.
Yeah, so I would want to see an actual Sith Lord doing something instead of seeing freaking ghosts
Oh, don't
that
worry.
barely do anything.
Oh, don't worry. Next story arc, you'll get your wish granted.
Wait, is the next one Dark Lords of the Sith or?
That is correct. Yep.
I see.
So we won't have to wait too long.
Yeah.
Anyway, so anything else to say on this story arc?
I can say something.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so I think the really big standouts were definitely Nomi and Ulik for being as kind of, well, more so on Nomi being so inexperienced at the time and kind of holding her own in a war zone. It is pretty impressive, I must say. And Ulik, I just loved how, seeing one of his Jedi compatriots just take a blow right like that from King Omen. He just charges in because that's how I felt. Like I needed to charge in and just stop this SOB and just stop this conflict altogether. That was pretty cool to see. And another thing worth noting is that it was kind of weird to see this, but if you notice Freedon Nadd compared to the previous issue, his Force Ghost looks incredibly old in this issue. And I don't know why that was the case in that and compared to the previous issue, because he looked a lot younger, but it was kind of odd to me. I don't know the reasoning behind that.
Yeah, you are right. It actually does look. His Force Ghost does look a bit different, more menacing. Definitely a bit younger. Yeah, you're right. In the first issue compared to the second one.
Yeah, I just like I always think that Force ghosts are always like the spirits that are, when they pass away, that's how they look. Like when they're, I guessing, I don't know how Freedon Nadd passed away. I guess he got old and then he passed away. So maybe this is more to how he looks like.
Force ghosts
But
can take whatever form they want. So
yeah.
there's
Yeah,
also that.
because in SWTOR Knights of the Fallen Empire, the player character talks to Darth Mar, and both he and the character pretty much confirm that even Sith Force ghosts can make themselves look however they want, and Darth Mar still kept his armored appearance. He wanted to represent his appearance as a warrior and a general and a symbol of the Empire who embodies strength and unity.
So there is that. What I do find odd is that if you notice in Freedon Nadd's spirit here, he doesn't really have his white eyes. If you noticed, because in the first issue he does have his white eyes when you see his spirit, but in this one it's more like they're just like covered in silhouettes, which is interesting. So there's that, which is weird because it's the same artists that did the first issue. So I don't know. I can't explain that. I guess either artistic interpretation or Freedon Nadd changed his appearance. I don't know. So there's that. Anyway, anything else to say on this one?
Yeah, I think there's one other thing. So technically, the Freedon Nadd Uprising story is technically part of the Knights of the Republic story arc, because so it's pretty much Beast Wars, Nomi Sunrider's story, and then this. That is kind of like how I would consider it, but in this case, it's not. It's like two different stories in Knights of the Republic, Beast Wars, and the Nomi story, and then it breaks off with Freedon Nadd. But I have seen online where they've combined Knights of the Republic with all three arcs. However, I've not seen a physical copy myself, I think, but I've heard about it and I've seen it online.
Why is it called Knights of the Old Republic? Is that intentional? I mean, was it intentional to tie it somehow with the comic? Or, like, what's the purpose of the title?
No, that omnibus or the trade paperback that has
Yeah.
the first two story arcs, they called it like that, and it came out on August 1, 1994. So
Is it something like the Jedi Academy series in the video games? They somehow managed to have a similar name at a similar era?
I don't know. They probably just thought it was cool. Nice the Old Republic. So I mean, it does kind of make sense because they are in the Old Republic era, and Ullek and Nomi are training to become Jedi Knights. So they're pretty much the new generation of Jedi at that point. So I guess they just put Nice the Old Republic to make it sound cool. So that's probably there. Now, for the Freedon Nadd Uprising being tied with the others. Okay, so apparently, the first trade paperback is Knights of the Old Republic that only has Ullek Eldroman Beast Wars of Onderon and the Saga Nomi Sunrider, released in August 1, 1994. However, there's then a collection, a hardcover collection called the Tales of Jedi, the collection plus the Freedon Nadd Uprising that includes the first three story arcs: Beast Wars of Onderon, Saga Nomi Sunrider, and Freedon Nadd Uprising. So that's the collection that you probably are talking about, the Django, because that includes the three of them. And then there's the Dark Horse Omnibuses. However, Volume 1 of Tales of Jedi only has the first two story arcs. It's only until Volume 2 that has Freedon Nadd Uprising, then Dark Lords, the Sith. So yeah, that's how it is basically. So Freedon Nadd Uprising is considered more its own story arc, separate from the first Knights of the Old Republic, but there is one collection that combines it with the Knights of the Old Republic trade paperback. So that's how it is. So there's that. Anyway, so anything else?
No.
Okay, so now we go into the EU connections of the Freedon Nadd Uprising, and well. Okay, so we got plenty here to talk about. So who wants to go first?
There are some connections, such as, for example, the whole Freedon Nadd thing. It does again connect to SWTOR, as such as there make many mentions of Freedon Nadd. One example, during the Sith Inquisitor storyline, Darth Thanaton mentions a lot of famous Sith, including Freedon Nadd, Ludo Crash, Naga Sadao, Mako Arachnos, Exar Kun, so on and so forth. And in the not too long ago expansions onslaught, you get to go to Onderon, and there's still still a temple, an ancient Sith temple that's mostly dedicated to Freedon Nadd, and there's even like a statue that's, well, I mean, while part of it's destroyed, it's for the most part still intact. And one of the quest items you look for is the Tome of Freedom Nadd.
There is that. Interesting.
In Knights of the Old Republic 2, in a mission, there's a mission where you have to defeat a bunch of Sith and Dark Jedi in the Tomb of Freedon Nadd, and the structure of the tomb looks similar, although not quite. And you actually, the series didn't bother to explain how the interior looked like, and you could actually go inside there, which is cool. But structural-wise, I'm saying there's not really much to look for, other than a bunch of consoles or a tomb, a casket of Freedon Nadd with a short lightsaber in it. I mean, you could actually visit there, but you don't get much out of it. No cool items, no cool armor, none of that.
That's something. There's that. Django, do you got any connections in mind?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. In my case, well, here's a good chunk. So, okay, right off the bat, Bodo Siask Boss. So he actually first appeared at holocron form in Dark Apprentice, aka the second book of the Jedi Academy trilogy, because that book came out actually 2 months before the Freedon Nadd Uprising, and was written by Kevin J. Anderson. So, yep.
Didn't Kevin J. Anderson wrote few of the Tales of the Jedi comics?
If I'm not mistaken, he did Dark Lords of the Sith and Sith War, because it involved Exar Kun, which Exar Kun, of course.
But did you say that was Voto Boss' first appearance?
Yeah, Dark Apprentice. That's the earliest that I can think.
Wait, didn't his Holocron appearance appear in Dark Empire?
And okay, so regarding what you said, King, about Bodo Siask Boss. So turns out the Jedi that was in the holocron of Dark Empire was not Bodo Siask Boss. It's another one called Vodo Boss, with B of bear, not UB. So it's another Jedi actually. It's not the same one. So,
Wait, but are they related?
Apparently, yes, it's related because it's apparently the ancestor of Bodo Siask Boss.
Oh, and then we also have something you have to notice is Nomi Sunrider as a child, and he's a Jedi, doesn't really fit. And later, the prequels made this not allowed, so different Jedi culture. Blah.
There's that. So yeah, Bodo Boss is actually the not the ancestor, the successor of Bodo Siask Boss. So same species and similar family, you can say, but it's not the same. So there's that. So no, Dark Empire, that Jedi there is not the same as Bodo Siask Boss. They're two different. So yes, Bodo Siask Boss, his first appearance in the flesh was in the first issue of Freedon Nadd Uprising, but he first appeared in Dark Apprentice in holocron form. So there you go.
Even in this time of the EU, they tried to connect the Dark Empire, mostly Dark Empire 2, because I barely saw anything related to Tales of Jedi in the first Dark Empire comic.
Yeah.
And Jedi Academy, so, continuity. It's great.
It is great indeed. So, yeah. So the Galactic Museum that we saw in issue 1, the one in Coruscant, well, that has actually appeared on so many other sources in the future of the timeline, from SWOTOR in the Codex entry to Darth Plagueis appearing there, Darth Maul Shadowhunter, 3 of the X-Wing books, Mara Jade by the Emperor's Hand, like it was even mentioned in Night Jedi, and Han Solo and the Lost Legacy as the Imperial Museum. So that museum in Coruscant has been there for many years. Oh, and speaking of Coruscant, of course, the name, Hair of the Empire. So, do I have to say more on that one?
I mean, That's not really much of a connection because it's already 1994 at this point.
Yeah, but considering that Carry the Empire depicts the events of the Star Wars timeline in 9 ABY, the fact that we actually see a Old Republic comic actually naming it Coruscant means that, yeah, it's been that name in forever. Either that or Imperial City, but Imperial City was much later. So it is still pretty much connection. Then Alima Kito and, Seito Keto, they appear in a Codex entry in SWOTOR. So they're there in SWOTOR. Have you seen them, King?
I don't recall seeing them in a codex.
Well, they say it's there, so you're gonna have to search for them.
Well, in my defense, I only just recently got into like the details of the Jedi, so I wouldn't have been looking for them at the time.
Okay.
And Knights of the Old Republic 2. I don't know if this is the restored content mod or something, but at least I know that in the in-game files, in one of the game files, there is Alima Kiddo's robe inside. But I don't know if that thing's actually acquired by looting or it's in the files only. So I don't know. It's just that.
We'll have to take a look at that. So there's that.
I can't say a club content is a reference, but is it?
I don't know. Don't know on that one. So there's that. Now here's an interesting one. Mira Lucas. Well, they actually first appeared here and even first identified as Mira Luca. Yep. Freedon Nadd Uprising was the one that brought the Mira Lucas to the Star Wars timeline and universe.
You mean the blind ones?
Yep. The force sensitive ones that are blind.
Like Jarek or who was that Sith woman? I forgot her name. What was it?
Lisa Mar?
This Mar, yeah.
Yep. So there's that. Now, speaking of Jarek, they originally said he was human, but it was retconned that he's actually a Mira Luca. So he does count as a Mira Luca. So there's that. And of course, Mira Lucas have appeared in plenty of other sources ever since their first appearance here in Freedon Nadd Uprising. So there is that. Then the Graf, which is basically a secret society that was founded by Alima and Seito Keto. It first appeared here, but it's been featured in other sources like the Two Knights of the Republic games, and it's even mentioned in the Old Republic as well, and even mentioned in Onslaught as well. So there's that. Oh, and even mentioned the new Jedi Order Star by Star, which, holy shit, I didn't expect that one. And the Dark Empire Endnotes actually mentions the craft. So that's an interesting one. And then another species that first appeared here, the Nasar. They're sentient humanoid bipedal. They're native to the mid-planet Nasri. So they also first appeared here, and they've appeared in other sources like Knights of the Old Republic, issue 43, and Knight Errant. So there you go. There's that, and then the Sith Elite Warbot that appeared in the second issue of Freedon Nadd Uprising. He's mentioned Dark Lord, the Rise of Darth Vader, and some story called Light and Dark. It's apparently a third adventure in the Child of Light saga written by... It's basically a Wizards of the Coast story. So,
isn't that Sith War thingy? What thingy look like Darth Vader, or is it just me?
I don't know, but it is mentioned in the book of Dark Lord, Rise of Darth Vader. So maybe that's where the answer is. And the Republic Army. This is their first appearance in Star Wars in general.
Yay! And then it will last only, how many years? 3,000. No. 2,000.
Yep.
I mean, we gotta be aware that when these people were writing this, they did not know that George Lucas would make the Republic demilitarized. So, I mean, George Lucas did approve things, but the aesthetic, I would have wished if this comic was more like the prequels than whatever the hell they're trying to do here. I don't understand what they're saying when they say the comic doesn't feel like Star Wars.
Now, granted, this obviously came out years before the prequels, so we didn't even have anything resembling the prequels yet until possibly when the special editions were coming out. So there is that. As for anything else, well, I know that the Deacon crystals, they have the three specific types of individual Deacon crystals: cash receipt, mephit, and pontite. Pontite is the one we see here in this issue. Pontite actually appears in Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords, and also in SWOTOR. So there's that too. As for any others, well, King Omin, he actually was, besides obviously being first mentioned in the first story arc, and first appearing here, he was mentioned in SWOTOR as well, Codex entry, and even mentioned in Onslaught, and also mentioned in Darth Plagueis, and even Bane of the Sith. So there's another connection right there. And that's it as far as I can tell. Other references are from other Tales of the Jedi story arcs, which obviously we're not going to include because those are obvious. So
It's interesting that Bane of the Sith mentions King Omen because Onderon, like Kevin J. Anderson wrote that, so it's basically referencing things he did write comics starting from Dark Lord Sith, right? Or Jedi.
not that I'm aware of. I'll have to check that. So, oh, I do have to mention that Umbria, the planet that first appeared in the Saga Nomi Sunrider, mentioned here. It's basically the planet where Bane and Sana fought, and first mentioned in Dark Empire. So there's that too.
Ambria,
Yeah, Umbria.
isn't that the planet where Bane had the mind for Tulsis? That planet?
It's the planet in which Bane was had to get that healer in order to pretty much.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's also the planet in which Bane and Sana pretty much fought.
yeah.
So there's that. So yeah, any other EU connections, guys?
Oh.
Okay. Well, in that case, we go to the conclusion. So who goes first in the conclusion?
Story starts to be interesting, but I want to see some actual Sith Lords doing something. So, yeah, the next storyline will be interesting. That's my conclusion.
Okay. Django, King, who goes next?
I can go.
Okay.
So overall, I think this is it's a decent story. It's very short, only 2 issues, but it's a very quick read. Artwork is definitely different, very aged artwork, but I did like it. I didn't have an issue with it. And it was a very interesting story, I must say. It's not the most exciting story of the Tales of the Jedi series by any means, but it is an interesting setup point for the future series with Dark Lords of the Sith and so forth. So it does set up on an interesting note, and I do like how it does connect with Knights of the Republic 2 with on the forest moon of Duxon with Freedon Nadd's tomb and stuff like that. For the longest time, I actually never read this story when I read the Tales of the Jedi series because I could never acquire it, but I did read it like some time back, so it was no issue for me. But I mean, I like seeing Ulik become more of a badass and Nomi doing her thing as well, being a badass as well. So I mean, overall, it was a pretty decent story for me.
Okay. King, your turn.
I did think it was pretty interesting that it's starting to build up a lot of the future conflict with Alima and her cousin getting artifacts, and I'm glad that got a payoff because they were literally seeking Sith artifacts and knowledge. And it was also nice to see that there's some progress with Nomi Sunrider being a Jedi during these past few months between the last time we saw her and now. It was also nice to see just further indication that Force Ghosts can still be powerful, and yes, there are dark side ghosts. I don't care what TCW says. And yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say.
Okay. In my case, well, I did like the story arc. I do think it's a bit more on the interesting side compared to Sanomi Sunrise, but that's more because we're actually seeing a full conflict. So instead of it being a bit more on the reserve side and just seeing a Jedi train like we saw in with Nomi Sunrider, in here it's definitely more of a bigger conflict, possibly a bit bigger than even the first story arc. So I actually did like it a bit more. We did see more the Force in play here compared to the first story arc. So that's why I like it. I definitely like it a bit more. Art style definitely is in some areas it definitely is better. In a few areas, a few issues, but it's still solid to read. So yeah, I like the story arc, and definitely I cannot wait to get to the next story arc, which is oof. Now the next story arc is where shit's gonna get really interesting. So definitely stay tuned for that. So. And with that, well, I guess we'll see you guys on the next State of Star Wars. Bye bye.
See you guys.
Farewell, mortals.